Hi everyone, hope that you're having a good day. Just wanted to pop on here and have a little chat with you all about ego death today. A topic that I personally love chatting about, and wanted to share a little bit more with you guys about exactly what the ego is, why we have it, how we can actually utilize this ego death experience in order to elevate our own evolution and our own growth. So if you're somebody who is wanting to really continue evolving on this lifetime, you're done feeling stuck, then this will definitely be a video for you. So first off, what is the ego? Hey everyone, what is the ego? So the ego is just a part of our mind. It's a part of our psyche that is here for protection and to keep us safe, right? And the ego's kind of shit on a lot in society. How many people do you hear like, oh, that person's so egocentric? Or don't do that because, oh, that's all your ego, right? The ego's kind of like, hi, Haley. The ego's kind of like, it's shit on, you know? And when we can actually understand it, there's been a lot of stuff in our belief systems that have kind of belittled our human experience, when in reality, when we can start understanding that all these parts of our human experience actually provide value to our evolution and growth, it's just simply that we haven't understood how all of these pieces go together in order for us to use all of these different parts of our humanness to become the limitless spiritual beings that we were actually put on this planet to become. And with everything happening right now, the whole ascension process, everything, obviously there's a lot of growth going on in everybody's life that's happening right now. No worries, Haley, you can text me back whenever you have time and I will get back to you. That's great. Hi everyone. We're just having a little chat about ego death here. So I'd love to know, do you guys have any idea what ego death is? Feel free to put it into the comments if you do, if you know what it is, if you know what the ego is, if you know what its purpose is, all of that stuff. We're just gonna have a fun little chat. And I do have some notes here so that I can kind of stay on track and chat with you guys about specific things. So like I said, the ego is a part of our psyche. It is a part that is here for our survival, right? When we think back to the caveman days, we needed this part of our brain in order to survive, right? We needed it to keep us safe. We needed it to be here so we could be on this planet so we can continue living our life, right? But as our human consciousness evolved and we started becoming more complex beings here, then we didn't quite get the education or the knowledge passed down through the generations, especially here in Western culture where we don't really have big spiritual belief systems, that we kind of missed out on a lot of this teaching. And so the biggest thing is when we start understanding more about how we function and we start understanding more about it, we can actually start shifting through things and start achieving the things that we want and start achieving more fulfillment in our lives, right? And who doesn't want more fulfillment or joy or happiness or meaning in their every single day life, right? So when it comes to the ego, like I said, it's all about protection. And when this comes up, do you know what it feels like in your body when there is fear, right? Because fear is a big topic. There's lots of things that come up in fear, and fear can either reroute us or we can lean into fear. And on the opposite side of fear, you may have heard this, on the opposite side of fear is actually your deepest desires. So in order for us to get to our deepest desires and for us to live our most abundant, meaningful, purposeful lives, we must understand this cycle of what ego death is, of what the ego is, of what this fear is, in order to get to that other side so that we can start living a more joyful, abundant life. Hi, Julia. So happy you're on here. So with that, when we think of like humans are kind of like onions. I think it's Shrek or Donkey. One of the two say this, or like ogres are like onions, you know, they've got many layers, right? And humans are like onions, right? We have many layers to us. And when we can start bringing our awareness to these different layers, and these layers, when we think about our past conditioning, our mind is largely formed, well, in the first 7 years of our life, we are direct sponges to our environment and to the people around us, which means that we pick up our behavioral patterning and a lot of our emotional patterning from the people that were in our environment. And it was really cool when I started realizing that even the emotional patterning gets anchored into our physical auras and our bodies. So if your mom was very anxious or your dad was very anxious, They didn't even need to say anything. They were just in that anxious state, and our bodies will pick up those same emotional patterns, right? It's just like if you walk into a room and somebody's very anxious, you, a lot of the time, will feel that anxiety in your body as well. So a lot of these onion layers, that's what those onion layers are. They're picked up from that belief system from when we were children, from the emotional patterns and the behavioral patterns, which means that actually isn't your true authentic self. And there's a lot of chat about authenticity these days, right? So when we are living in these behavioral patterns that we picked up from our parents, or these emotional patterns that we picked up from our parents, that's their behavioral patterns, that's their emotional patterns, right? That is not our authentic behaviors or our authentic emotional patternings that are actually going to bring us toward our unique vision, our unique dreams, and our unique goals that we have for our personal life. Does that make sense? Right? Because when we can start seeing that a lot of the time we are running off of programs that are outdated, right? These programs are things that we've picked up from our environment, and it's not our authentic true self. So how do we get to that core root of our authenticity? How do we get to that core root of our desires? A lot of time we don't even know our desires. We're like, where do I want to go? I don't even know. I don't know what I want in life. I don't know what I want to do for a job. I don't know what I want in a partner. I don't know what I want in all of these different areas of our life. And that's because we are still running a lot off of these programs that are just outdated. And a lot of the time our parents may have projected their idea of what success looked like onto us. And then we picked up on it. And that's the way we've been living our life. And for an example of that is that when I was, I think it was like, how many years ago was it now? Maybe like 4 years ago now, I found myself living this life that everybody dreams of, and that ever since I was a child, I assumed and I believed was success, right? I had a house, I was in a relationship, I was working as a paramedic, so I had a pension, benefits, I was making six figures, great money, I got time off, I got to travel, I got to vacation, all of these things. Yet that wasn't even the life that I wanted. And so what happened, even though I had all of those things, the next step for me was like, oh my gosh, are we going to have a baby? And I'm very grateful that that didn't happen at that point in my life, because I was not ready to have a baby. I was just simply doing it because that was the next step on that timeline of success. And the whole reason that a lot of us fall into that is because of programming we had of movies, of this, of that, from things that our parents thought, of all of these things. And it's not actually our true authentic desires. So once we can start understanding about what this fear is, because a lot of the time fear will try to keep us stuck in that same place of our old conditioning, right? And so when we're in that space of our old conditioning, then we are stuck in these behavioral loops or emotional loops that are keeping us stuck in an old pattern that isn't actually our authenticity, right? And when we're stuck in these loops, say each one of these loops is like an onion layer. And as we go through and we start wanting to peel back these onion layers, we have to take a look at each individual one of these behavioral patterns or emotional patterns in order to start learning information from them and gaining deep wisdom into them, so that we understand what is going into creating this behavioral pattern or this emotional pattern. And there's a lot of stuff that kind of goes into that. It goes into your thoughts, your emotions, your beliefs, your behaviors, your values, all of these things kind of loop down into it. And that's why it can sometimes seem that like, oh my gosh, it's impossible for us to shift this shit. But it's not, guys. Don't worry. It's not. It really isn't. There's the simple ways, and that's why we have people that we can hire to do shit like this. And that's why when I went through this, I was like, oh my God, it blew my mind that I could change my life this much. And then I wanted to get certified and all this shit so I could pass this shit on to you guys so that you guys could start changing your life too. So with these onion layers, there's different ways that we can have an ego death experience. Ego death just simply means that one of these layers they're dying, right? Life is all about birth and death, a rebirth and a death. Life is all working in cycles. And as we begin to bring into our awareness, if you watch the podcast episode that I just released on Monday with Melissa, she briefly mentions this in it. There are also other podcasts I've recorded with Melissa where I believe she talks about this more in depth. But when we have our awareness, we have three kind of levels of our awareness. We have things that are in our unconscious mind that we can't see. Right? There's lots of things in our unconscious mind. We're still running on those old patterns that we can't see that we want to change yet. So that's the first one. The second one is when we can see these behaviors, yet we're not quite ready to change them. right? And how many times do we have that where it's like, oh, well, I know that I need to be doing this, right? But we just talk about it. We're not ready to actually take the action to shift that behavioral pattern yet. That's okay, right? So that's the level 2. And then the third one is when we have the awareness of that behavioral pattern and we actually want to take action on it so that we can actually shift and begin integrating and embodying a new way of being, so that it then goes from our conscious mind, shifts into our unconscious mind, re-downloads a new file, if you will, so that then becomes automatic, so that you can continue your life through that behavior. And an example of what that may look like is if I, for example, a simple one is if I want to change my health and I want to start taking a supplement in the morning. I want to start taking adaptogens every single morning because I know that it helps reduce stress. And I know in my life I really need adrenal support and I need to support stress. Then what that would look like is, okay, that's in my awareness that I have high stress, I'm overwhelmed, all of these things. And I'm actually wanting to change it now. So I'm shifting from, hi Jaden, thank you so much. I'm shifting from that second stage of seeing it, not wanting to change it, right? Maybe complaining about it to your friends and your family. We've all been there, right? That second stage into 3, we're shifting gears, we're shifting up gears to that third stage where it's like, no, I'm ready to take action on this. I'm ready to fucking shift this, right? I'm ready to shift this pattern. So I actually start taking my adaptogens every single morning. I put them out on my counter so that I can run into it. I put sticky notes up on my fridge so that it's like, Laura, take your adaptogens in the morning, right? All these reminders so that I can start integrating that into my way of being, so that eventually I don't even need to think about it. Every single morning I just get up, I do that as my routine, and that routine now is now supporting something that is shifting me and evolving me into something that I want to become, right? And so that's just one way of upgrading one of those files. And you can see it's a process. That's why all of this stuff, it's a process that happens until you die. And then I believe you just reincarnate, you get to do it again, because there's so many lessons that we get to learn as human beings as we continue along this ascension process, right? So it's really just about getting clear on what it is that you want in your life. So then you can start taking action on all these little things and start pulling out all these individual files, right? So if you're feeling like you're kind of stuck and you're not sure where to go, I do offer a free exploratory call. So you can go in the link in my bio and on my website and book a free exploratory call. And I can help you to get clear on what it is you want, and then show you ways you can start facilitating this process to start shifting and integrating and embodying that new way of being that is going to allow you to withhold that thing. And the biggest thing is, like, for example, for that example that I had about adaptogens, why is it that I want to be able to have less stress? Right? For me, I want to be able to grow my business. I want to be able to be there for my friends, my family. I want to be able to show up at my highest capacity. So as I know that, I have this kind of like underlying vision. And I know that when I create this behavioral pattern, it's going to support this underlying vision. And a lot of the time when we don't know what this underlying vision is, or the reason why we actually want something, we don't have the motivation or the desire to even want to integrate this thing. Right? So there's a lot of different layers to all of this work, and that's why having support in a lot of this stuff and systemized ways to help you get where you want to go is very ideal. It speeds up the process massively, right? So with these onion layers, there's slow ways that you can do it, right? You can go to talk therapy, you can go to different psychiatrists, all of these things. They all have different tools to allow you to facilitate this process. And a lot of this process, what it comes down to is that awareness, like I said. So having the awareness around what it is that you want to change, maybe having a greater understanding of where it came from, and then accepting your reality, right? Accepting the reality of what is not working. You can say like accepting your hell, you know, like what is it in your life that is not working? And once you can come to acceptance of it, and fully feel that feeling of unfulfillment, feel that feeling of just sadness or anger, or feeling whatever that emotion is that is in your body of you're not where you want to be, and just allowing yourself to sit in that for a little bit and not running away from yourself anymore, right? How many times do we get into this space and then we distract ourselves with all of those patterns or those comfort zones that just our ego just keeps us stuck in that loop that is actually not fulfilling. It's just prolonging us actually getting to where we want to go, right? So understanding this process about ego death is huge, because we can actually start understanding more about what our behavioral patterns look like, what are our distraction patterns, what are the ways that we run away from fear, like what are some ways that we can actually lean into this process instead of always running away from ourselves, right? So when we see these and we actually know what they are and we are feeling those emotions, we come to acceptance of them, are we able to actually find compassion for ourselves and forgive ourselves for this experience? Right? When we stop running from our human experience or running from our emotions, the good emotions and the bad emotions, and we start accepting them as just what is, this is the human experience, then that's when we can actually fully start embodying this whole human experience of all of the abundance that is here for us all the time. Right? So coming to that place of compassion and forgiveness for yourself. And there are many ways that you can do that. You know, like even sitting with yourself and placing your hands on your body with where you're feeling it and having that dialogue to yourself. You may have heard of like inner child work. I do some of that work with my clients as well. Really being able to speak to yourself as if you were that little child, right? If you had a child in front of you that was feeling the exact same way as you feel in this current moment, what would you say to console that child? Right? You might say like, you know what, Laura, it's totally okay that you feel that way. You know, like feel the feels. Like, what is it that you want? You can totally have that life. You know, you're so supported, you're so loved, and really encourage yourself in that way. And it may seem fluffy, or it may seem like something that's stupid or that you may not want to do, or, oh, you're such a loser for doing that stuff. Right? But this is what it takes. Shifting your inner dialogue is going to shift your outer world. It's just the way that things work. Don't shoot the messenger. Don't shoot the messenger. But that's just the way that it works. If we want to change our outside things of the things that we have, we must start with who we are being, which comes down to our thoughts, the way that we speak to ourselves, our values, our beliefs, our behaviors, all of these things. And then from that place, when we start showing up in a new way, because we're embodying that new thing, then that's when we can start doing the action steps that we know we need to take in order to have what we want to have. And a lot of the time in society, what we've been taught, it's like, oh, well, I want to have this. Oh, well, what do I have to do to get there? And we end up in this do-have loop. And then we are missing the whole being part. So that's why we're always unfulfilled. Right? We're missing the fact that I want to be doing this while I'm fucking happy, while I'm feeling at peace, while I'm in the state of love and abundance. Right? I don't want to be doing these things while I'm feeling shitty or while I'm feeling all of these uncomfortable, heavy emotions, because they're just telling us that something needs to change. Right? But I'm missing the point. Missing the point of it because I'm so distracted and so tunnel vision focused on the doing part of what I'm doing in order to get where I want to go so that I can have the things that I want to have. Right? The material successes or the monetary successes, yes, they're important, but that can't be where our focus goes first. It has to first go to where we are being and who we are being in the moment so that we can do the things we want to do while we're feeling that way and then get to where we want to go. And you can see that as you're doing that, you actually end up enjoying the process a lot more and you start living a life that's actually more aligned and abundant. So you can do it that slow way of kind of doing more of that inner work. Then there's faster ways too. So the spiral, which I am obsessed with, is an incredible way to shift these patterns. So the spiral is an incredible modality. If you want to learn more about it, you can go on to the link up in my bio and click on the spiral and watch the video and read more about it. But a little Cole's notes about what it is it uses a technique called muscle testing, which is a kinesiology technique, which means that I am muscle testing into your physical body, into your energetic field to test into where certain behavioral patterns actually installed in, and using a Chinese medicine chart to test into the emotions. It's a pretty complex process, but it's brilliant. And it's facilitated over the course of 7 sessions. And over each session, you're testing into different behavioral patterns. So the very first one is about your deservingness. The second one is about your creativity. The third one is about your willpower, your power, being at your center, at your core. The fourth one is about your openness. How open are you to receiving? How open are you to love, right? The next one is about your expression. That's where your authenticity comes in. That's where your intuition comes in. Are you actually listening to your intuition? Do you even know what that sounds like? Or are you always listening to the fear? Next one is your vision. So what are these behavioral patterns and these emotional patterns that are blocking you from seeing a clear vision for your life of what you want to start creating for yourself? And then the last one, level 7, is all about your purpose and your connection to something bigger than yourself. When we are always doing something out of a small place, it doesn't allow our vision to expand and grow. When we can start doing things for a bigger purpose or a bigger reasoning beyond ourselves, we don't get as caught up in the humanness or the human emotions as we would if we were kind of in it as ourselves, right? So having that overarching, expanding view actually allows us to create bigger things in our life. So if you're somebody who has a big vision, you want to create big things in your life, but you're not quite sure how, and you want a speedier process to whip through these fucking behavioral patterns, the spiral is incredible. So you can go, like I said, into the link in my bio. Go click on there, watch the video. If you do want to chat more about it with me, you can just book in an exploratory call. And then if you know for sure that it's something that you do want to do with me, then you can just go ahead. There's a link there where you can fill out an application form, fill out all the questions, and I'll reach out to you and set up a call and we can chat more to see if the spiral is something that would be beneficial for you with where you're currently at. And then there is other ways too. So I know you guys love when I talk about psychedelics and plant medicines. I had quite a few experiences when I was in Colombia, when I was living there with different psychedelic plant medicines, which are all indigenous cultures, and they use these medicines from the earth, from different plants that they combine. So for ayahuasca, it's a root and a leaf, I believe. Not 100% certain on that, but they combine the two to create ayahuasca, or from different animals. So like bufo is from like the jelly that comes off the frog when it's emotionally stressed, and then you smoke that jelly and it creates a psychedelic experience. And with all of these, with the connection with the spirits and the connection with the land, there are different spirits that guide through certain processes, and ego death does happen in big ways throughout that process as well. So from my own experience, there's kind of ways that you can like level up your experience. I went big right away in the beginning. Those of you guys who know me, I'm an Aries. So usually when I do things, I just go like all out, and I'm learning to actually slow down. And that's why I'm offering what I'm offering now, and not just be like, yo, just go do like a 4-day or a 5-day retreat ayahuasca experience and it'll just fucking blow your mind. No, because the integration process after that, guys, was wild. It was wild, and not everybody can handle it. And honestly, there were times where I was fucking breaking down, it's not for everybody. So that's why it is with all of this stuff. Like there's different ways to create this experience. This process will happen on its own, guys. It will happen on its own. The universe is always guiding us. It's always providing us things in our external environment to increase our awareness, to bring things to our attention, and we can reflect, we can introspect and learn these things and have these ego death experiences on our own. We can start doing more forgiveness, start doing affirmations, we can start listening to podcasts, start talking to ourselves differently. That will start shifting it as well, right? We can hire coaches or mentors to be able to support us in that process to collapse time and make it quicker for us to get where we want to go. We can also do plant medicines, right? That is an amazing way as well. I would suggest doing it with a trained shaman, somebody who's been doing it for a long time, so that you can have that facilitation and have somebody that is controlling the energies in that space, because it is something that you don't want to just go into it full bore, not understanding the energetic realm. For me, I do some plant medicines on my own because I have a lot of experience with it at this point, but I'm not even at the place now where I'm facilitating for anybody yet. Is it coming in the future? I do believe so, but it's about knowing where we're at. So there's lots of different ways that you can kind of facilitate this process for yourself. And it's just all about knowing where you're currently at, what you can currently withhold, how quick do you want to get there, what do you want to do, and getting information, just feeling into your own alignment of what feels best for you. So I would love to know if anybody has any questions about ego death, any questions about anything that I shared on here. I love you too. That's amazing. If you have any other questions about anything that I shared on this live, then please feel free to reach out. Let me know. I'm always excited to chat about these topics. Yeah, I'll read through the comments here. Do you guys have any questions about ego death, about shifting behavioral patterns, about your emotions, about the spiral, about plant medicines, about anything? Thank you. I appreciate you. I know I'm not really in the avenue for getting married. Thank you, though. It's very kind of you. Very sweet. Oh, so funny. Awesome. Okay. Well, if nobody else has any questions, I hope that you received value out of this. If you did receive value, please feel free to share it with somebody that you know may also receive value from it, sharing your stories, anything like that, just to get this information out to the world. Because I do truly believe so deeply that the more that we start learning all of these different concepts and teachings, especially in the Western world, the more we're going to start really being able to shift society into a more fulfilled place where we can start be living more happier and joyful and living more aligned with our own purpose and start creating our life from that place. And it's just going to elevate everything in the planet so we can all start living a better life. Oh, you're so welcome, Haley. I'm so grateful that you were on here. And yes, just text me, Haley, and I can call you. Awesome. Okay. Well, I love you guys so much. Thanks for being on here live with me. I appreciate you. And I will see you guys on the next one. Bye. Mwah.